This time on Captain Cash's Laboratory, we're going to be working on the Mr. Christmas Santa's Musical Workshop. This is an absolute behemoth of a piece. It is bigger than my area. But anyhow, it's here because, of course, it doesn't work right. And so we're going to plug it in. And what happens is, backwards, it kind of works. But when you stand it up like you're supposed to, now it's going to work. Oh, now it stopped. So it's no longer driving the music sheet, which drives the music in the animation. The only thing that keeps working is this. So I'm thinking something in the drive mechanism has failed, and it's probably a gear, or it could even be the motor itself if it's a synchronous motor. So I'm going to flip her around. Make sure there's nothing protruding on the front. And we're going to lay it back down. I'll lay it this way. So there's no access on the back. We have plastic alignment studs, but the back is pretty well secured. The roof is a little loose, but that could just be the age of the glue separating. It is still fully adhered. So I'm going to take a gander at the bottom. While I'm getting this set up, this power supply is 8 volts AC. And I tested it before I plugged in to make sure I was putting out the right power. And it is putting out 9.8 volts free, meaning there's no load on it. So let's take a look at the bottom and see what we got. I see a screw there. I see some screws that hold the feet in. I believe that's all they hold in. And I see a couple of screws that go sideways. Let's just take a foot screw out and see if that does. So if it's really long, then it holds the bottom on. If it's short, it just holds the foot on. It's short. There we go. So foot screws aren't any good. I want to say the back pops off, because the drive mechanism has got to be accessible from the back. So let me take a closer look at these pins. Okay, maybe the roof comes off. There's screws. I'm going to try and tip it. There, under the eaves. So let's take the top off. It is possible that the drive mechanism is on the top. I have never seen this piece or worked on this piece. It's a very large piece. So, just a fake wood. And you're seeing it before me with the camera angle. What's in the back? There's the motor. The motor is right about there, right below the wreath in the section below. I see a whole bunch of drive belts. The motor is not a synchronous motor. There's a lot of drive belts. And I do mean a lot of them. The drive belts move the characters. Here's the circuit board. So the back does have to come off. I'm looking for any other screws. All I see is this big seam that runs the entire length. Just flexes. I mean, it flexes, which is a start. I mean, I see screws on the... Turn it that way a little bit. You still can't really see the shadowing. You can kind of see that way. You can see there's a silver right in there. There's screws that are inaccessible, which definitely indicates this back comes off, and the edges, it's just stuck right here. So unless these are compression plastics, meaning that it's pushed through and then pinched, that's all I can think of. It does look like there used to be screws in there. And this whole back piece apparently also comes off. This is all one big molded section, and it's painted. But this is like a big player piano sheet. So unless it's driving this, it doesn't work. I just want to put a little twist pressure on this plastic and see if there's any motion. Of course, you really can't see what I'm doing, but I'll do this side as an example. I'm trying to see if this will slide at all with a little mechanical leverage. It's not moving. So I'm going to have to spend a little time trying to figure this one out, because I don't want to break it. I don't know how old it is. I'm assuming it's old. The date code is E39, so I have no idea what that means. I did notice when I took it out of the box that these rollers that the sheet rolls on, which of course you can't see my hand because this thing is so big, these rollers, that some of them are missing their caps. They're not in the box. I did look before I started the video because I can see the glue that held them on. It's missing two. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rollers. Yeah, 1, 2, yeah, 6. And 2 of them are missing the caps. Not a big deal. As long as you got a few on there to keep the sheet centered, you should be good. Well, I'm going to have to figure out how this is held in. I mean, based on these should pop right out. So that's what I was doing instead of using my fingers when I was off camera, because again, the size of this thing, I was using a mechanical advantage to push to see if I could see any deflection or slippage. Because these studs look just like the holes for these screws. I might have to phone a friend, you know, just like that old TV show. Let me see if I can figure out how to take this apart real quick instead of wasting all this time. I know how to take the top off. And I'm assuming that was important, or else they wouldn't have screws in it. There's no screws in the bottom, nor on the sides, nor on the inside edge. There are screws in the black plastic facing inwards, which means you have to take the front fascia and the back fascia off. The front fascia, I can see the seam runs. Oh, I'm off camera again. The front fascia seam runs all the way across right under this faux wood floor. And then the back fascia is this entire plate. The seam doesn't separate here. It goes around and down. And then it's this piece too. So you can see the separation right here from warpage. Where the plastic is warped, that's where the seam's at. So you see how it moves. This side moves too. See? And when I flex it, it's always getting stuck on these 6 points. 2 in the bottom, 2 in the middle, 2 in the top. So before I break it or cause any non-repairable damage, I am going to mess is Mr. Christmas. It's one of the nice things. If you ever need help, he's usually pretty good at getting a response back. He might have a trick so I don't break it. So I'm going to pause the video for a minute and we'll be back. Okay, I'm back. I couldn't get a hold of him. He's on vacation. But I did find a video where somebody shows you how to take the back off, which is nice. Anyhow, these are supposed to be rubber plugs, and apparently when they get old, they dry out and they fall apart. And you need a pick to get them out. The screws are underneath them. So, I probably should do this standing up so I know you can't see now when I do this, but it lets the little broken pieces of rubber fall out and not back into the hole. There we go. That's one. And I'll talk with Happy Holiday Parts. That one almost came out complete. Almost. If he has replacement bungs. Probably not. I mean, these are old. They're just caps to cover the screws so you don't see the screws. So, definitely want to use some picks. There we go. Oh, probably there's still a piece in there. Come on. There we go. So I was right that this is the mounting point. The part I was wrong on was I thought they were press-on or screws were screwed in the top. Oh, these are just caps. They had little holes in this so you could pop them out with a pick when they were pliable. Probably in the first couple of years that this was introduced, because age makes them brittle. So 4 down, 2 to go. one left. We can unscrew the screws and see what's back here. And see what the failure is. Just gonna so that's what's left of the rubber plugs. A little pile of vulcanized plastic or rubber. Get rid of that. Now I'm gonna lay it back on its front and apparently, they're a little tighter than this thing can do. I think it's also fighting the remaining shards of rubber. They're long screws too, and they're in there a ways. Might have to invest in the new version of the screwdriver, which is a little stronger. I'm going to come back to that one. This is the first generation. I think this one still has stuff inside of it, and that's why I can't get the screwdriver in there. It does. There's always one. No. That's the wrong. There we go. Comes up the screwdriver too. Clear that somehow out. Maybe we can get a better grip on the screw. Nope. So the video I saw said a lot of their screws were screwed up just from sitting, and I'm believing this one is the same way. Looks like a different kind of screw. These are Phillips. This one does not look like a Phillips. That or it's just still full of crap. It's like a security screw. drop the screw. Always one. Let's try this. Nope, slightly too small. Oh, got it. I did. Okay. All right. Okay, well, it's most of the way off. There we go. Now it's the rest. I'm going to set this out of the way. Now we got a piece of red wire, which probably has nothing because I find a lot of these pieces have scraps of wire just stuck on the inside. That's strange how they do that. So I'm going to take a quick glance at this and I'll tip it so y'all can see it. I just want to do some visual inspecting. There's hot glue wrapped around the shaft. That is a horrible solder joint. Or a splatter. Not a joint, it's just a solder splatter. Wow. So there's hot glue on the shaft. I'm going to remove that. Because it's probably walking back and forth catching on stuff. I think the hot glue was supposed to keep the wire off the shaft, but they just glued it to the shaft. Looking for any cracks in the gears because there's no belt off the motor. The belts go through and drive the animations. So bear with me for a second while I do some chucking. Move my chair, we're going to fire it back up. Look for that. Okay. So before I turn it on, I'm going to tip it so you can see what I'm looking at. Because you get a top view, not a side view. There you go. So, right here is more of that hot glue that's on the shaft from this wire, which is touching the shaft. And the hot glue is right here, and it just spun around. So when this was assembled umpteen years ago, either they didn't do a good job or it got hot enough that the glue melted. That's the solder I'm talking about. It's a solder splatter, or their solder tip splattered on the plastic, and it etched itself into the plastic. This glue joint has lifted, probably because of where it got wrapped right there. So you have a 6-volt motor, which this motor runs up to 9, but it usually runs around 6. And it goes up, it drives this gear here, which then the shaft goes over, drives these 2 gears, which then drives those 2 gears. This gear drives this worm gear setup over here, which drives this belt for this animation. This one comes over here, drives this for this animation, then comes over here for these 2 animations. I am assuming the rest of it is in here. Oh, of course it's off camera. Right here. Because none of these drive this. They drive these. They just drive the characters. So, and also there's nothing to drive this. I still can't see it. To drive this mouse on the wheel. So, what do we got in the holes? We got a whole bunch of another circuit board. Yeah, there's something in the bottom. So, I think this motor is dying. It's really weak. That or it's wedged. There's definitely another motor in the bottom. You can hear it. So this might need multiple motors. So I think the problem with the top is the motor. For the animations, the motor is I think it's just weak. It'll start to spin, then it stops. Now, what do we got in the bottom? How do we take the bottom apart? So there's a screw, there's a screw. So there's some really deep screws in there. They're all the way in the front. So there's my screwdriver, and you're going to need a long screwdriver if this is the proper way to do it. I don't see any other way to get access to this bottom. I can see the drive right in here. I hope this is just a shroud. And the reason I say I hope it's a shroud is because I hate for the mechanism to come apart. So there's one screw. It's another long screw. So this screwdriver is 6-inch shank, and it's going in about 5. So you need a slightly long screwdriver to reach in here to get these screws. Also, they're not the easiest to get on. There's 2. So when I said I saw screws underneath the skirting when I was looking at the bottom, these are the screws I was referring to. Now I know why they are the way they are, because they have these big long grooves to run your screwdriver down to get to. And there's only 4 of them that I can see that go into that deep. The other ones are in this white plastic that also screw into this black shroud. There's all 4 of those. And there we go. So the front piece comes off. Yay. All right, I'm going to tip it on its back. There we go. And we're going to flip. So these wires don't break. I'm going to unscrew the switch so I can remove this black piece, or the front piece, off of the switch. Like so. Now I'm going to remove this from my bench so it's not in the way and it doesn't get damaged. The inner workings of the machine. I love the way this crinkles the stuff inside here. That is so interesting. All right, so where is the other motor? Looks like it's right there. Gotta be careful, there's not a lot of screws holding this thing together anymore. That's the player right here. That's why this is all taut and the rest of it's loose. Just see. Oh, wait. See where the failure is. So the roller is engaging, but it's not pushing the paper. Sorry if my big head's in the way. I gotta get in here and see. So the motor is working. I think the problem is this rubber roller. Either that or the spring on this side. Well, that's really weak. Because this is the drive. This is the player. That's the circuitry that controls it all. This just makes it look fancy. Oh, that'll do it too. There's a big old kink in it. It's a horrible design, the way to have this thing just crumpled up in here. There's the kink that was wedging the roller. I don't know if you can see it right there. Oh, I hope I don't get copyrighted for this. Christmas music's getting me hit left and right now. That's why there's not as many videos going up. I'm thinking the paper just got kinked from sitting too long. I'm not a big fan of how they do that. There's the kink. Right there. I'm going to let it play all the way through. See if it gets back to that kink. But this is a horrible scrunching method. And no, I can't think of one that's different at the moment. I've never opened a player piano as an example. That's probably why it kinks, just like it's about to do right there. It's not staying accordioned. See, it lost its accordion right here. There's the beginning and end where they taped the two ends together. Just go. See, the mice keep quitting, and I want to see what's going on. The belt's slipping. That's why the mice keep quitting. It needs a new mouse belt. Those are moving. This thing hasn't moved in a while based on the noise it's making as the paper is stretching. But there's got to be another motor over here. I'm trying to find it. There it is. So this thing has 3 motors. This motor over here is a guide to speed up this plastic roller where it got wedged. Sorry, the flashlight's swamping out the camera. Put on dim. It also drives the mice. You got the motor in the back that drives the different animations. Then we have that motor there, which is actually what's pulling the sheet music and pushing the sheet music into its respective pocket. But right here where it's up top is where it seems to have a problem. It does an accordion like that. It folds flat. There's the kink. And there we go. So at the moment, it has an issue with this. I don't know if there's a fix to make it not do what it's done here. So when it's done pulling this section here, it's probably going to get wedged again because this piece goes all the way back and then curves back around. I'm going to watch it. I'm not going to touch it like I did the last time. I just want to see if it can self-correct itself, or we'll find out here in a moment. Now it's going to pull the entire top. Here we go. It's pulling the top. And see how it's folding it? That's how you get a kink. It's self-corrected. That's absolutely amazing. So currently it looks like the biggest issue is the belt that's slipping right here for the mice. I don't know if it being upright would change anything, but let's find out. I'm going to turn it off. And I'm going to put it upright, like so. Now you're not going to be able to see it as much as me, but I want to see if it starts. I'll center it so you see the, geez, see the sheet music where it goes through. I've never seen inside a player piano. I've seen player pianos. I think they're cool. This is pretty close to a player piano. It's actually pretty cool. It took a lot of work to put this together, whoever designed it. So this motor over here is vibrating, and it could be because it's got crap in the gears. There's like dust, debris, or the motor's dying because the motor is not smooth. It jerks a little. The belt is slipping. The top pulley is spinning faster than the bottom pulley for these mice on the side here. Right there. But the motor just twitched again. So I'm thinking this motor might be going out. This motor seems to be doing fine, the one that's driving the music. This motor seems to be doing fine. These two motors apparently are tied together. I mean, they all came off the same board, but what I mean is they work in unison. When this stops, the animation stops, but the mice don't. If you see what I'm saying. Let me get that out so it stops flickering. So when it was on its back, or when I got it, the mice were spinning, but nothing else was working. So this motor works separately on a different circuit than these two motors here, because this motor that runs the animation and this motor that runs the music, they, if one stops, the other one stops. Well, this one just spins and spins and spins. It's just not spinning as smoothly. And it could just be the stuff in the gears. And the gears, it literally looks like chunks of dust going around the teeth with it. That could be the reason why the motor is jerky, because it's getting caught in, well, the gear. There's just so much stuff stuck in here. It's old, and I know it'll collect stuff. Let's see if I can grab this chunk while it's spinning. Almost. Got it. Yeah, nasty. So this chunk of stuff on the pliers, where my pliers are, right there, see on the tip, is on the pulley that guides the music into the player. So that's what I'm saying. It's I'm wondering if some of this isn't just dirt and debris. I always tell you that too much grease attracts dust, too little grease dries out and it doesn't lubricate well. I think this is under that too much grease section. It just auto corrected itself again right here. That's what I'm watching right now. It did the first one. Will it do the second one? Yep, sure did. So the start and stop to the music where there's that long pause is almost there. When it gets to that point, I will turn it back off. And then I'm going to have to see if I can get the belt motor. Now, it'll take me a little bit of time to get it because he's on vacation till the end of the month. So that's 2 weeks from now. All right, well, the start-stop point's right here. It has to go all the way around. When it gets to the top, I'll try and point it out. You'll know it when it quits playing music, but I'll try and point it out at the top for you when it gets up here. Start point's right here. It's going down. It's going underneath the pulley. It's on its way up. It's almost up to the top. Here it comes. So this is the start-stop point right here. You notice there's no holes and there's tape. The tape is what holds the pieces together, just like in a player piano. If it's a loop, there's adhesive of some sort. So that's going to go down. And once it gets to here, you're going to hear the fingers stop because, well, there's no holes in the paper. I see it. It's almost there. That's it. So, I'm going to see about finding the motor for this and maybe a belt. This motor's working fine. I think it works better now that I've cleaned all the crap off of the drive. None of the gears are broke. None of these belts are slipping. All the animation's working like it's supposed to. So, I'm thinking the reason this thing was broken was because the paper got curled and it kinked. And it got stuck inside the auxiliary drive. So this thing slips on the paper. That's why it's not very tight. I was watching how it works. So if this starts to strain, which is, I'm pointing to the music part, that drive. This, because it's always spinning, helps push. So it kind of curls the paper up on top of this roller here, which relieves the pressure. So that way it can go. It's like a helper motor. It's not doing anything except helping and driving the mice. And right now, the mice aren't slipping. Maybe because it's gotten warm and the belt's got a little sticky. So I'm going to try and clean it out. I'll probably get a little compressor or a little blower right here. It's loud, so I don't do it on the camera because it's obnoxiously loud. And the camera really picks it up as a high-pitched whine and don't want to blow your eardrums out. And blow out some of the dust in here and then let it run again for a little bit. And if that belt's still slipping or that motor's still jerking, then we'll do a repair on it. If not, the end result was there's a kink in the paper. The paper got kinked, got wedged in the helper motor, which caused the whole unit to cease to function, except for those guys on the side here, the two little mice. But if you don't have this piece and you want it, good luck. I don't know where you'd find it, but you're probably going to pay a pretty penny for it. It's really cool. If your paper tears, you can cellophane tape it together. And then if you have to cover any of the holes, just punch the holes back out. And it's got 3 motors and a whole bunch of gears. Happy Holiday Parts does have a repair kit for this. I don't know how much of a repair kit it has. I don't think he has the caps for the rollers. He probably just has the gears, motors, belts, and maybe some of the drive components like the axles. I have not checked yet. So I'm going to blow it out and I'm going to let it run again. And I'm going to see if it's just screwing up because there's so much dust in here. You know, if you can see on my finger, there's just so much dust and dirt in here. And I think it's just slowing it down. And, of course, paper was kinked. And that's because it didn't self-write. And I don't know how that can be solved. Because right now, all the paper, when I turned it off, just shot over to this side. You know, I'll tip it so you can see what I'm talking about. So when I turned it off, and there was no longer moving, all the paper went from here and went all the way over, just like that, see? And that's why I'm thinking it kinked, because there's the kink. It's flattening out, but that's the kink right there, that little bend. So I don't know if there's a new guide, like this piece of plastic, or this is a guide right here, this white piece of plastic. You can see the finger. There's two of them. There should be three of them that stick out to help guide the paper up into the helper motor. So this one may not be much of a repair, more of a how do you take it apart? A lot of screws. And you got to pop those plastic / rubber plugs out. So I'm going to go ahead and blow it out carefully. I don't want to blow directly on a paper and cause it to tear. And then I'm going to do some research with Happy Holiday Parts as far as what is available to bring this back to life. At the moment, it's working. I said worst case is it probably needs a belt. It might need a motor, but I'm going to clean it first. Clean it and put a little lubrication on it. New lubrication goes a long way in stopping jerkiness, because the jerkiness, like I said, could be the stuff in the teeth. So anyhow, I'm going to pause it for the moment. Shall return momentarily. Okay, so we're back on the feeding musical house. And I did some investigating, and I talked to Suntronics, Mr. Christmas expert, and he said this problem is notorious on this piece. So a quick recap is when this is pulling up and it wedges, you see how it's folded like an accordion right here? Well, it pulls this folded part right here into this thin groove that feeds it, causing it to kink. And he said it's a very common issue. A lot of people leave this front cover off so they can unwedge it. I'm like, there's got to be a way to fix it. So thinking about it and buying some materials, and we're going to try a few different things. If there's a way to, instead of the paper bunching up here in the corner, let me see if I can rotate this to make it better. It's just so huge. And it's going to be sideways, but you'll get the point. I'm going to use something to elevate it a little bit. Or try to do something else. That works. So when it tries to feed it in here, it's pulling this and it's wedging. So I need to figure out some way to make this accordion of paper not try and pull itself in. So it has a little lip, which is hard to see because it's all black. Right there. So it's got a little bitty ramp right here, but this ramp allows 2 sheets of paper to go through. So I'm trying to figure out some way to help deflect this top edge of the accordion down so it doesn't try and feed back up inside. So here's what I've come up with. And I'm going to, well, actually what I should do is, in case you can't see it so well, because, you know, I don't know how the camera looks in person, I just see what the viewfinder sees. Let's zoom it in, realign this, and then adjust the lighting. So the ramp's right here. You can see the ramp. It's very small right there. And if I tip this a little, you can see where the paper goes up inside. Well, there's room for 2 sheets, which means if it just gets stuck, it'll, well, try and pull it all in, which is 3 sheets, and wedges it. And, well, that's not good. So I'm going to move this out of the way. We're going to zoom the camera. We can leave it zoomed in, it's fine. So here's my different ideas. I need to make something that's going to push the paper out of the way. So I've come up with, I went to the hardware store, bought a whole bunch of random stuff. I'm sure you recognize this is a piece of aluminum, 90 degree, small. It's a 1/2 inch webbing. So anyway, I cut it, and of course it cut for crap at the end, but relatively okay. It's fine. It's a test piece. And then I stuck it on a sander, and I sanded the edges so it sits flush. I don't want the paper getting stuck under the edge. So put this in front of the ramp so when the paper hits it, it can guide and not get wedged. That's one option. Second option is, got some biscuits, not the type you eat, and I cut some small wooden wedges off of a biscuit because it's got the curve. There's 3. I took off of one biscuit. Here's the other half of the biscuit. So there's 3, except that they're off camera. There you go. So you can glue these on. And how they work is the paper would then ride up over the curves. You put them all in a row, and bam. Now you don't have to stick them on this directly. You can put like a popsicle stick and glue them on or something, and then shave the edge of the popsicle stick like I did to this piece of aluminum. So you have a nice beveled edge, and hopefully that'll work. And then next, I got some brass and did the same thing. I took a sander and I beveled the edge so it'll sit at a slight angle. So when it sits, so if this is it'll sit like that to help push, and it's springy. So you just put a little bit of glue right in here that'll hold it and allow it to flex a little bit to try and keep the paper from wedging. I made 2 fingers. I figured I didn't need 3 because that would be a lot. And then my last design, I'm going to zoom out just because it's getting annoying trying to stay in frame because it's so close. I haven't cut it yet, but I marked it. So it's just a brass tube. I was going to cut it and then basically notch it or cut straight through, but not straight in the meaning of right down the center, a little off to each side so I get 2 smaller crescents with a piece in the middle, and then do the same thing, and that way it has something to ride over. I haven't done this one yet, mainly because I can't get to my Dremel at the moment, but I'm thinking one of these options will work, but I'm going to still try this if I need to. So like I said, I just went to the hardware store and got the material, so number 20 biscuits. In case you didn't pay attention, they look like that. It's good for woodworking. Here is the round brass tube. It's 1730 seconds thick, or 1730 seconds diameter, and 0.014 thousandths of an inch thick. That's the thickness of the wall. And I also bought brass strip. It's 1/2 inch wide and 16 thousandths of an inch thick. I did cut it up into smaller pieces just to do some trials, just to see how it would fit in here, and these are too big. So I cut another one of them in half and made 2 small ones. And this, wherever the other end went, was like 3 feet long. There it is. Because that's the shortest they had. But here you go. And you can see how, let me go to the factory cut end, the edges are squared. And I beveled them. So these are what I'm going to try to keep this unit from getting wedged on its own paper. Like I said, there is no known repair, but it is a known issue where the machine, especially this one, when it feeds the paper through the music box, has the failure, and it goes around all the rollers. Apparently there's 2 versions of this. So from what I found out is there's this version, which is the one that fails the most. That's probably why it's here. Because it feeds all this paper, and it's a lot of paper, as you can tell. There's a whole bunch of it bunched up. You can see the collector right here with a lip to help push it over. It has a tendency of wedging. And like I said, they talked about leaving these screws out to remove the front to fix it, or leaving them loose. The other one has, the paper goes around, but doesn't go through the music box. It has a separate music box where the paper is not the music box. I guess that would be the second generation or a different model, but same piece. So you have the appearance that this is playing the music, but it's not. And that one doesn't jam as much or pretty much at all because it's not requiring your music sheet to go all the way around and then go through the music box. It's a separate individual component hidden within, and then this just goes in the circle and goes in the circle while your music box is in the bottom. It's also more mechanical, less paper driven on the music part. So it's probably because they realized they had problems with it, and that was their way of repairing it. I don't know. It's an older piece. It's kind of a neat idea, but it has an inherent problem, which is the paper doesn't always feed in the same direction. I did hear that you can warm the paper up to help it if it starts to get rigid. I am not sure if that works. That was just what I heard. I have not been able to get confirmation whether or not that is true, meaning I'm not going to try it, especially on somebody's piece, and then ruin the paper, because it's not like you can just go buy a new sheet music. Now it is repairable with tape, kind of like old film. You could tape it or so on and so forth, but we don't want to screw this up because it is working now. All I want to do is try and help prevent it from getting wedged. I've let this thing play, which I get really sick of the music when I have to do this, but I've let this thing play for hours. In the course of hours, it did wedge itself twice. So it's averaging about one wedge every hour and 15 minutes, give or take. Everything else works just fine, and I found the caps for these, so we're going to glue those on when we're done. But we're going to try and solve the paper wedging issue, because the one that wedges is right here where it's creased, and I believe there's a second section that's also creased where the paper got stuck and it kept pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling, and it creased the paper by putting a new fold in it, which it doesn't like. So that's why we're going to try and do something like this. Apparently I made this a hair too long, not a problem, we'll cut it down. That when it hits, it pushes it out of the way and helps guide it. Only one sheet. That's all I want to do, is I just want one sheet to go inside and not have this fold. So all I'm trying to do is do this so it breaks up this fold. And I might need to make it an L, where I stick it in this way, like they did right here. You can, it's about as far up as I can go, maybe. There we go. You can see they put an L to help slow the paper and try to create the accordion. As you saw, I just redid it because it doesn't work so well. But something to deflect the paper from getting stuck up inside there. That's all I want to do. So I think this is the best option, but I thought about it and looked at it and figured, yeah, well, we'll come up with a couple other secondary options. But I'm going to start with this one first, because this one gives me a couple of different ways of doing it. I can do the triangle method, and I can do the L method, where I stick it in this way and see if it stops the paper from trying to pull itself inside to the flat and the fold at the same time. I know it's a lot of boring stuff. You're probably just like, okay, just shut up and get to it. I just want you to know the process, because if you have this piece and you have this problem, I want you to see how I'm coming up with hopefully a repair, similar to what I did with the gondola with the reversing switch, which I will get around to showing you how to put in the reversing switch system, because now it's been made into an actual piece that you can just buy and drop in. So hopefully this will work. So what I'm going to do now is actually cut it to the right length, because apparently I didn't use a tape measure very well. I actually just measured the width of this plate here, not realizing it steps in right here. I was at the hardware store, so I wasn't like holding this when I did it. But yeah, it's this gap right here is 2 17/16. Just in case you're wondering, I'm sure you're not, but in case you are, the paper on these things is 2 3/4 wide. So right, well, I'm going to go ahead and trim this piece down, and then I'm going to adhere it in here. I'm just going to put a couple of small drops of glue, and I'm going to try it. And we'll see how it works. And then I'll let you know. Maybe I'll be able to show you. And then if it doesn't work, I'll rotate it, and we'll try it again. And I'll try and show you. And if it doesn't work, then we'll go over to one of the other options. But I am thinking that this is the best option. Because I was at the hardware store, I didn't want to just waste my time buying one thing. I wanted to come up with secondary, third, fourth, fifth, other options that hopefully will rectify the problem. And then I can send this back. Other than that, because that's the only thing wrong with it, it keeps feeding the paper. Folds at a time. So I'm going to go ahead and get this cut. I got to cut it off just under 3 inches here. So I need to knock off an inch, just under, to make it fit. So I shall return, and hopefully this will fix it, and I get this thing shipped back so they can have it for Christmas. Christmas is 7 months away, but still, I want to get it shipped back. I'm just working on trying to find a solution for a problem that has never been fixed. Shall return momentarily. So, I have it in, as you can see. I can't change the volume, so I'm sorry it's loud. But it still occasionally gets stuck, and how it gets stuck is it gets caught on the very edge of the metal when the fold goes the other direction. So the triangle wasn't doing anything. I meant to record it on my phone so you could see it. When I had it in the triangular shape, it might get stuck here because of the fold. Let's find out. It's done it 3 times. On the triangle, it did it like every 20 seconds. So I think I have a solution for it. I just forgot to record the triangle. But the triangle was allowing the paper to slide behind it because it was at an angle. So the triangle was allowing the paper to go up instead of getting caught on this lip right here. So I think I have a solution, and it involves the round rod. I'm going to cut it shorter than my original mark, and I'm going to stick it on the inside so the paper has a way to curve around when the fold isn't at the point, when the fold's at the valley. Because it's the valley when this accordion expands, pushes into, focus, come on, there you go, when it pushes into that point right there on the aluminum. So I'm getting there right like that. See how it almost slowed down for a second? That's what happens. Except sometimes it actually will stop. And that's when the accordion over here shoots out, it compresses this, which then pushes it like so. So if I put the round rod in there, it'll stop it from having such an abrupt angle change. So I'm going to cut it and try it, and I'll remember to turn the phone on the next time for the next one. Okay, so this isn't working either. It's helping, but it's hindering at the same time. You can see how the paper stacks. So when it pulls this up, it's actually pulling this up. Focus. It's actually pulling this up inside there too. So let's turn it back on. Doesn't do it every time, but it's done it twice in the course of 2 belt rotations. So that's once every rotation of the paper. So I took the rod, and because it's pulling it up right in here, if I put the rod right down here, and I just hold it. I'm holding it flat against the back. So you can see right there is the wrinkle that would cause the initial problem. It fed right around the rod, and if you watch the rod, because it's not so close to the bottom that I'm going to move my hand back a little bit. It's not so close to the bottom, but as the paper tries to double feed, it hits the rod and it pulls it back. And the rod being high enough to let the fold naturally pop over, it's not wedging. And you can see it wants to double feed, and then the rod, the top piece is holding it, the piece I put in, and the rod is stopping it from going up any higher at the bottom one, the big rod I'm holding with my hand. So I'm thinking that if you can see in the back there, you see that lip? Yeah, finger's too close with that black lip. If I lean the rod against the bottom of that and kind of have it right about here, so it's just off straight down from the original, and just hold it, I'm pressing down against that lip so it doesn't lift, and I'm trying to hold it as parallel as possible to this white guide here. It seems to be working pretty good. I actually had to go 1.5 revolutions before I turned the machine off because the door, and now I have it back on with y'all watching. But you can see how the rod catches it, and because it's round, it allows it to feed, and because it's brass and it's smooth, it's not binding. So I'm thinking a combination of the top and the bottom is going to be the best resolution for the wedging paper problem. Now the top is only tacked in with some hot glue. It's not permanently adhered, it's just tacked. And the bottom, of course, is held in by my hand. And how I would put the bottom in is I would cut this rod down to a length that fits. So about 3.5 inches, give or take. And I'd run a bolt through the back plastic with a set of washers on both ends and tighten it to hold it in place, kind of like they did with these rollers here. You can see the screw to hold it in. So very similar to what they did here, I would do down here. Because so far, this is doing the best and it's working the best. So yeah, you can see the paper is trying to bind, but just as it tries to pull up, it gets pulled around the bottom rod. Now, if this is the resolution, there's a few ways to do it. You can make it so the rod spins. You can make it where the rod doesn't spin. Right now it's not spinning. You might find one that's maybe rubber, but then you might get black streaks on the paper when it breaks down. I probably wouldn't go with a steel rod because it'll rust. Brass will turn green over time, but it's going to take a while. Aluminum can oxidize. There's no perfect. You saw the paper just jerked right there. And that's because the rod prevented it from feeding up. And that's probably the other part that's bent that doesn't feed right. So I'm thinking this might work. So I'm going to let it run like this for a few minutes until my hand goes numb. And then I might cut this rod down, drill a hole in the back and run a bolt and tighten it down and see, and let it just run and see how it works. And if it works good, I'll make it more permanent. But these are the things I do off camera that makes them really long videos if I do them all on camera, especially the cutting of everything. But trial and error. We're going to find a way to try and reduce or mitigate the chances of it wedging the paper. The other issue is the wedging over here sometimes happens. It's pretty rare. It's happened twice in the hour plus I've run this thing over the course of the multiple times I've filmed. But the paper sometimes gets stuck in that piece right there. Because you can see it doesn't make it a beautiful accordion. It kind of just clumps the crap in wherever it wants to go. It's not pretty. I'm sure when this was new and the paper was more flexible, it probably wasn't so bad. But being older and slightly more brittle and tolerances have changed from years and years of use, yeah, you can see how it pushes down really hard right there. Sometimes when it goes up to the top and the bottom's still at the bottom, it gets stuck because it'll catch on either the screw that's back there, right there, or it'll just wedge the paper and it can't pull. Sometimes once it got wedged under that lip where it's lifted. It's so weird. So that's why I just let it sit here and play for an hour and getting tired of the Christmas music because you can't turn it off. But it's just part of the process. So I'm just going to hold this and let it do another revolution or two and watch the paper and see what happens. So I shall return. Okay, we're back with the music house again here. I'm going to show you what I came up with to make the paper hopefully feed better. So it's a few parts. I used the brass tube and I cut it down, and then I sanded the edges so there's no sharp edges, and for the paper to catch on the outside, and no sharp edges on the inside to you know, hurt your hands or get caught on the bolt. Here's a screw. It's an old-fashioned flathead only or blade. It is 6 inches. Yeah, 6 inches long. It's probably a little too long for what I need, but it's good for testing. And if it's too long, it sticks out through the back, you can cut it off with a cutoff wheel or saw. So I've already set this end because I already test fit everything. So what I have is a washer. I have one of those compression holders. So it looks like a washer, but you see the little slits in it. And so when you slide it over threads, it clicks. It's a retainer. I don't remember the exact name, but I got 2 of those and they're tapered, as you can see with this one. You can see that it's tapered right there, which is amazingly the perfect size to fit like that. What that does is it helps keep this centered. So I have the washer, and the washer is too big. You can see here, and this is intentional. So you can see the washer, if you know anything about washers, you shouldn't have that much play. I did that intentionally, and that's for adjusting the edges of it if the paper needs a guide. So if you don't need any guide, you push it all the way down and the paper will go clear. If the paper starts to wiggle, you can tighten it up with it in the up position, like so. And what that does is it allows the paper to stay in. Basically, I'm using the washers as these caps. These caps prevent the paper from walking out. And that's what I'm doing with the washers. I'm doing one on the inside, of course, also so it puts pressure on that tapered compression thingy. I forget, I just can't remember the name. And then one on the outside. I have a nut in the middle, so it's about the middle of the pipe. And that's in case something slips, this doesn't just drop and walk. So it helps keep it. So without this other one on, you can see there's still a gap around the threads, so it keeps it centered on the shaft. So then we'll just take this one. We're gonna slide it on. So this is a loose fit. So you can thread it on, or if you wiggle it, it'll walk down the threads. So it's not super tight, and that's intentional as well. That's why I can take it back apart, because I went through a couple of little designs before I settled on this one. So also, it's just tight enough that I can use it to tension, so I can center the brass fitting and keep it under tension just enough to make sure it's centered on the bottom and the top. And this will go on, and then this will go through. Now I already did drill a hole before I started, right there, for this to go through. The hole is just a skosh larger than the threads on the screw, which is, I think it was 1/4 inch. I have to stick it straight up so I can actually get to the nut on the back. The nut is a knurled locking nut. You can also use a nylon nut. You can see the shaft sticks out way farther than I need. A 5 inch or a 4.5 would probably work fine, but I have to use what I have around. So I don't have to go to the hardware store constantly. Hence the random junk channel, just random stuff out laying around. So I'm going to make it finger snug. And just to give you an idea, so we know the bolt was 6 inches, and if I keep it the way it is, that means you can lose 1.25 inches. So a 5 inch bolt would be probably fine, and then you can trim off a little bit if it doesn't when you put the back on. Trim it off, you can use a hacksaw or a Dremel tool with a cutting wheel, so on and so forth. Which means putting it back on its back is going to be kind of hard. So it's going to sit in there like that. And of course you can't see it. So what I forgot to do was put on the right side of the paper. So I'm going to have to unscrew it and put on the right side of the paper. I had the paper bunched up or pushed off to the side so I could drill the hole and not damage the paper with the drill or drill bit. That would be really bad. course, now the paper's there. It's gonna be a little harder to get it in the hole. There we go. Flathead screw. That's not a flathead. You need a flathead screwdriver. That's a flathead. Using a flathead because now I'm going to adjust it with the washers to help do it as a guide. So that. I know I have the quietest drawers around. Big steel desk. And now I'll show it to you again, actually installed the proper way. So this way, I have the washer set shallower on the bottom, but thicker on the edge on these two sides, and stick higher on the top. That way I have an equal amount of meat on both sides where the paper runs so it can't walk. Because if you, well, it's hard to tell with a phone or the camera above because it's two-dimensional. But if you're sitting here, this paper, when it compresses, springs forward and backwards. And the cover here helps prevent it from shooting out. So this will make sure that it doesn't go too far past the screw head is the reason I'm doing it. At the moment, I'm going to leave this in here and I'm going to fire it back up and I'm going to record it and we're going to see what it does. But if this works, I will then tighten it down. I'll put some hot glue, even though it's a self-tightening or the grooves, it's a locking nut. I still want to make sure for vibration it doesn't walk itself out. And then I'll either leave this tube here or I'll remove the tube and see how it works with just the L. The L is more permanent than the tube. The tube is just tacked in with some hot glue. The L is actually held in a little stronger with some super glue. Not enough to hold it permanently, but enough for testing, and I can just add to it to make it more rigid. But that way this stops the top and this helps the bottom feed so it doesn't try and pull it up. So now we're going to test it again. So it is plugged in. I can't tip it on its side, but I will film it with a cell phone down low so you can see it. Just want to see how it runs for a minute first this way. I want to make sure that the little mice don't catch my cables here. I'm hoping this resolves the problem. I want to see how it's working with no shadows, hence the light. The guide's working because the paper just sprung and it hit the edge of the washer and it's pushed it back in. So the guide, using the washers as guides, at least this top washer, the bottom washer may not be necessary, is working like it's supposed to, or like I envisioned it to. Turn the brightness down a little bit. And like I said, I can't adjust the volume, so if I'm quiet, it's because this is closer to the microphone than I am. Okay, I'm going to switch to cell phone. It's the light right there, so you can see what it looks like from inside. I'm going to go ahead and pause the top camera, and I'm going to start the cell phone camera. Okay, here we go. Now we're on the cell phone cam. I'll remove the flashlight so it stops flickering. And we're going to set this here and not get my finger in shot. So you can see how it's working, how it's pulling it around. And you can see how the paper right up here is still hitting that bar. And you can see the paper is catching and not being pulled up inside. Of course, my finger is causing to go out of adjustment. I need a pointy thing that's not so obvious to the camera. Here we go. So you can see it's going to try and pull, but it catches right there and stops it, while this pulls it back down and it feeds. Now we're going to see if it's going to correct itself right here. And voila. So if this works, I'm going to let it run for a while. If this works without wedging the paper, then this is going to be a fix you can do at home. Parts-wise, well, not counting all the other things I bought to do this, because I had so many designs, you're probably talking maybe $10. Here we go. We're going to see if it binds up right here. So this tube is actually helping. It's keeping it from pulling up. So I'm going to leave that tube in based on that one curl right there. But what was wedging it before is, as you saw, it gets caught and it pulls them both up at the same time, the bend, and it's a known issue. I do see that the paper has shot out and it jumped over the edge of the guide. So I might loosen the guide and drop it down so the gap isn't at the top, it's at the bottom, to allow it to handle a jump when the paper jumps. Because right now, I'm going to move over a little bit, this paper is outside of the plastic. So I can, now it's back inside the plastic. And that's what I'm talking about, the paper jumps. So the paper's, I don't know, 3 inches wide, and the depth of this black section that it fits on is 4 inches. So it's got a ½ inch in each direction, or a total of 1 inch of movement forward and backwards. And what I'm trying to do with this washer is prevent it from going too far forward. The black plastic in the back will stop it from going too far back. The washer in the back, which you can see right back there, I'm going to use this so my finger doesn't cause the guy to focus, is mainly to help dissipate the pressure between the tube, the brass tube, and the nut on the back, so it changes the PSI rating on the plastic, because it is an older piece. Now, you could make this out of plastic, technically. You can get a plastic tube and not a brass tube. I would 3D print something, but 3D print stuff is usually textured, and I don't want anything that's got textures that's going to possibly act as sandpaper and start sanding down the music sheets. Alright, let's see what happens here. We have a big horizontal bundle. We're going to see if it can do it. They're not supposed to be horizontal. They're supposed to stay vertical. But there's no control. There we go. It's pulling up 2 pieces. Okay, it's curled the other way. What's it going to do? No. Oh, nope. No. Alright, so still have a small issue. Gonna have to work on that. The next thing that maybe is, instead of doing this, just have a complete wall. Yeah, it's gonna do it again. Let me turn it off before it... Where's the switch? Okay, wait, it's gonna fix itself. It's gonna fix itself. It fixed itself. So I'm gonna turn it off so you can hear me. So I guess another option now is, instead of running this tube here, maybe running a solid piece all the way down as a wall. So it has to feed from the bottom. How are we going to do that? We want to do this without changing the machine too much or causing anything visible from the outside. I'm just moving this out of the way so we can see in here. So I could try, because this is just barely tacked in, I could pry this tube off and wait. And maybe put these in its place. So this is that metal strapping. So take the tube off and trim this down to a shorter length, and then adhere it. Of course, it's out of focus now with my hand. So take this right here and take the tube off and adhere it to the inside of the L, going straight down to this tube. and try and have it to where it's on the top center. If it's on the inside, it could catch the holes, and if it's on the outside, it could catch the holes. The other option is maybe curling the bottom over into a rounded shape to where it stops. And I don't know if I need multiple or just one in the center to help keep it from doing what it just did. It worked better than it has with just this on the top by itself. So that is a start, but we're still a little bit of the way before getting this worked out. But with the cell phone, you can see it's a little bit clearer because it's closer. There's your circuit board. There's your pulley. It's not the main pulley. That pulley just has got a rubber on it, a rubber sleeve that helps guide the paper up through the rollers, around the rollers, and down. And then that one right there is just a plastic roller, which is what I've made here out of brass. That's just a plastic one, but it spins. And then it goes around and it goes across this plastic roller, which is right there. You can see the paper on it. And then this is what pulls your music on this side and pushes it out this side, which then goes straight down. And I'll move this out of the way. And it goes straight through the red plastic and bends it. You really can't see it because it's tucked in behind this black standoff. But you can see the groove that it follows. There's the groove on the outside. And it pushes it down, comes out right there. Then it goes down into the tray, which then that lip right there is supposed to hold it so it doesn't bunch up like this. Unfortunately, it's not a perfect science, and it bunches up like this. So, it is what it is. But, so now we're going to go on to the next step. This is doing decently. It's doing what it's supposed to do. I'm going to loosen this and lower the washer, and I'm going to pull this off, and I'm going to put this on. And when I'm talking about curling it, is you see how the end of this is curled from me folding it to cut it? Curling it over completely and seeing, because I don't want any sharp edges that can catch this paper. Everything has to be smooth, rounded. So that's the next step. So I'm going to go ahead and pause it while I prep this and remove that, the tube, and we're going to see if that works. And then we'll try it again. That's one of the reasons these things take so long sometimes, when I have to figure out something that has never been fixed in the history of the product. And eventually, when I have a chance, I'll show you how to do the gondola fix with the new piece that was manufactured based on what I designed for the gondolas that also have a problem. So let's see if we can get this one working. And then if you have this piece and you have the same problem where it's binding the paper, you can fix it at home with just a few dollars worth of parts from the hardware store. And if you improve upon the design, send a picture. Let me know. All right, shall return momentarily. Okay, I've had it running for about half the paper. I have one finger in. You can see I curled it over, and I'll show it to you better. I made two of them. I just put it in the middle for testing, but I made two. I'll put the other one right here. You can see there's the tube I removed. You can see I just hot glued it in for testing. And then you can see how I curled the finger over so there's no sharp edges. You can see right there. And what I figured out is put one at each end. I also moved the washer, as you can tell. But I wanted to test it with just one, just to see how it works. So it's just tacked in with a little bigger than little glob of hot glue. You might be able to kind of see it right there. So that way I can peel it right back off. But it is stopping the paper from pinching. It's allowing it to ride up parallel and then flick back. So when it comes over to this section here, which is horizontal, it stops it. You can see that just hit and it didn't get pulled up inside where it could have before. I think this is something that, if it does work, this is something that their engineers could have designed when they built this back, whatever year this was manufactured, or the following year if they made the Gen 2 version, which doesn't have the paper that goes underneath. It just has the paper that rides on the top. Sorry, it's split. The paper on the top is fake and the paper underneath is real. So, I don't know. Sometimes you gotta look at a problem and think about it for more than a few seconds. You can see it tried to pull that under, but it couldn't. And let's see if what it's gonna do. What you just heard was the paper on the left hitting the red thing and shooting out the red foot. There we go. So now it's starting all over again. So I'm gonna listen to this for a while and see how it works. And then if it works without any issues, I'm gonna take that finger off and I'm going to put a second finger in and space them apart, one closer in and one farther out, so that way it's more equal and the paper is not leaning at an angle. So this curl right here is actually tipped inwards. It's hard to see on the camera again because it's two-dimensional. That's because the finger, as close to center as it is, isn't perfectly center, and the paper walks in and out. So center is relative to where the paper's position is when it gets shot out from that foot right there. Because you can see it's bunching up, and then it'll eventually just go poof and shoot out. That's what you heard before, is when it built up so much here, it shot out. So this is a rather long and in-depth video, but I want to see if we can reduce the amount of times it can wedge the paper and possibly eliminate it 100%. Because this person shipped this a long way for me to work on it and try and get this thing to function. And all it is it's a bad paper feeding design. So, but if it wasn't for the kindness of people sending me their gondolas, I wouldn't have been able to figure out how to come up with a gondola change to make the gondola work without paying for a very expensive circuit board. So, guess we'll sit here and listen to this for a little bit. I think this is the song that was on when I turned the cell phone back on. Or, I could be wrong. But you can see the bottom, the washer sticking out the bottom is acting as a really good guide, because the paper is trying to come out towards the camera. You can see how close it is. It's really close right here. It's almost on the edge. And then over here. And that's because that cover is not here. And you can see it's hitting the guide, and well, it's kind of hard to see, but it's hitting the guide. Now that it's on the bottom, it's not jumping over it. That's why I wanted to use an oversized washer, so I could use it as a guide that's adjustable. You can get an oval washer and do the same thing, but I'm not going to the hardware store. I have 10,000 washers in my cabinet outside. I'm not going to go waste money on a 50-cent washer when I can do the same thing by using an oversized washer that is bigger than the shaft but smaller than the head. Because I know I'll be asked, that screw is a 1/4 inch in diameter. It's just a hair under, but the drill bit's a 1/4 inch, so that's why it's a really snug fit for the screw to fit through the back. So it's a 1/4 inch diameter SAE threaded screw. I have no idea where it came from. I had 2 of them in my miscellaneous screws drawer, and it was the only screws I had that were long enough. Now they're too long, but long enough to do this. Believe it or not, the washers and the slide-on compression nuts, they were left over from my dryer rebuild kit. I spent a couple of days rebuilding my dryer. But you can buy those at the hardware store. I have a drawer full of them. I just figured I'd just use the brand new shiny ones instead of the ones that are in my drawer that may or may not be clean. The brass tube I told you, and the brass bar I got from the hardware store. I got it from Ace Hardware. Like I said, you can probably use plastic like they did on this entire piece, but I couldn't find any plastic tubes at the hardware store or around my junk stuff that would work. So I was looking for anything I had that was plastic. I had plastic rollers. I could have put 9 of them in a row on here, but then you risk them rubbing while they're turning and causing friction issues, as well as if one of them wedges. Uh-oh, why are we stuck? Where are we stuck at? It's not there. We got stuck over here now. Alright, so now we gotta figure out what we're gonna do on this side. This side seems to be doing pretty good, but this side got stuck. So the paper went down and it couldn't curl because it got caught on one of these points. Now, before I touched it, it did start to free itself up. So don't think I manipulated it because I had the camera pointed over here. But it, just as I went to touch the paper, it had started moving again. And it's now started from the beginning. So I've gone 2 cycles. You've gone 1.5 on the camera with it working like it's supposed to, minus where it got caught right here. So I'm going to let it run and I'm going to watch it. And I'm going to watch both this and this and see if we need to put some sort of like this in here to help push it away. So I shall return on this really, really long and in-depth video on how to fix a feeding issue on a piece that I didn't know they had a feeding issue with until I started doing some research. So, all right, I shall return for you in an instant. For me, I don't know. Probably let it run for 20 minutes or so. But I'll let you know if something happens. Okay, we're back and I'm on design like 30. And this is the best way it's working so far. I removed the guide and bent the piece I glued up top, made it longer, changed the angle, put a kink in it so it springs back and forth. And so far, I've had it running for like a half an hour, and it's only occasionally getting caught where the paper was originally kinked. And if this happens, you can just grab up here and pull it past the kink. So far. So here's the original roller. I took it back out. I made a secondary roller with a custom-made nut to fit in the bottom, and it was working for a while, and then it just started constantly binding. And what I was doing was I was trying to make it so it swooped against this ridge right here. You can kind of see it. Let me use a screwdriver so you're not looking at my fat hand. Right there, ridge. And it was working really good, and after one revolution, it just started feeding the paper double and triple. So I've gone with 2 rollers, 1 roller, and this roller, I had it so it can spin versus solid like this one was. And then I said, you know what, maybe I just need a spring guide. So I removed both rollers, and then I started playing with just the, and the reason I call it a spring guide is you can see it, the paper keeps smacking it, you can see it flexing back and forth. And then I just kept adjusting it until I could find the bend that would keep just a little bit of pressure here and help push the paper up. And then when the paper got to the bottom, it could flex out a little bit, especially when it hits this ridge. So if you watch the guide, it moves back and forth just a little bit because it is brass, so it's springy. Then I had to extend it down, so I had to unroll my curl. The curl. And then flatten it out a little bit. So I needed more length because the point was catching right about there. Oops. Try not to poke the paper while it's going. So, and so far, it's doing pretty good. I think this is going to be the best design. I did go back to the biscuits. These, if you forgot what they are already. And it worked for a second. I was doing anything I could to stop it from double feeding the paper. And you can see it's trying to double feed right there, but then boom, pops right out because it's being springy. That brass flat is flexing. So let's see if I can bend it. Uh-oh, it might bind now because both sides jumped over. We're gonna find out. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But look, it fixed itself before I even had a chance to touch it. And it's done that twice now. That's the second time. So occasionally it doesn't catch the paper at the bottom. And if I go any lower, it starts to really bind because it can't flex the paper back and forth like an accordion. I think out of all the designs, which there's literally been more than 20, this is probably going to be the best. According to Mr. Christmas, there is no fix for it. That's why they changed the design on the second set. And I don't want to give up on it, but at the same token, I've probably spent 80 hours on this one piece, and I have other pieces that are starting to pile up that people will like back. But as you can tell, it's still running. I've been filming now for 4 minutes and 22 seconds. And prior to me turning on the camera, I had it running for about a half an hour. But here we go. Now it's going to jam. See the double feed? It's probably going to jam now because I mentioned it. Let's see. We're going to find out here in a second. Well, got the first of the double feed. See if we'll do the second. Now, I don't know, can't really tell because it's sandwiched, but that spring bar is moving back and forth as it's flexing. And look, I got a perfect accordion finally, because that's what it's supposed to do. Not that floppy sideways that it was doing before, like that. It's supposed to stay just like that. But the problem is, you can see what it's doing here. It's not jumping out like it's supposed to. And part of it is the age of the paper. The paper is losing its, I don't want to say flexibility, but its ability to stay in the pattern or the shape that they intended. But we're keeping with a good accordion. So I'm hoping that this will work the best, and that if it does get stuck, because it did get stuck on me, like I said, once prior to me turning on the camera, where it got stuck on the original kink, which I'm trying to see where it is in the paper. I mean, the thing is long, but there's that original kink that it got folded did get caught. I think it's over here. But so now I'm going to let it run a little bit longer, and then I'm probably going to reassemble it because I think it's the best. Oh, there's the kink. It's right there. So I guess we'll see if that kink catches again. It only caught once, and all I was able to do was just lightly tug here, where this is covered from here down. So from here down, and I was able to and it got the kink to come through. Like I said, from talking with Sontronics and doing research, it's just was a problem child, and all I'm trying to do is make the problem child less of a problem child. And I think part of the problem is the age. And I think if the paper is losing its whatever they use to base it on, but I don't want to say flexibility, but it could be the flexibility. All right, there's the kink. And actually, it's got two kinks. That's a small one that just went through. The big one's right there. So we got, I don't know, 6 or 7 more. Yeah, see, it gets stuck. And if I just lightly tug right there, that's actually what I was told by Sontronics. You might have to pull the paper. So I've now had this thing running for close to 40 minutes, and that's the second time it's gotten caught. But I want it to go till I hit that secondary kink right here. I'm going to turn it off. So let's watch this together. Three more, maybe four. It's a cool idea. If it was a bigger house and you had more room where you could stretch the paper out with some maybe guide rollers like they did up here, I think it would have worked better. But I think the house is just too compact for the amount of music it has inside here. And that's the kink that always got caught, and there it goes. It should be free and clear. There she goes, and there you go, all the way through. So if you have this piece, this might be your best option. Taking a piece of strap. This was about 3 inches flat, and then curl it down, cut a small piece of angle, which allows the top to catch and gives you a better surface than I focus with my hand, and a better surface to connect it to, and put a small kink in it so it kind of not quite level with the guide right there, but a little higher, and then kick the bottom out, so make like a foot where the toes pointed downwards. Kind of reminds me of like a ballet dancer's leg. The way that would be the knee, and then that would be their toe. See, it's caught in that kink. That's the first kink because it's got two. One's bigger than the other, but and then kind of has that toe right there. So. But that toe, as you can see, is holding up the curls to help prevent it from doing the double feed. It doesn't always stop it, but it helps prevent it. I can only do preventative. When I had it slightly lower, it was jamming constantly. So I kept having to adjust that toe right there until I could get it to where it worked more than it didn't. So if you have the one that has the full sheet that goes underneath, you're going to have issues with it, is what I've been told by anybody that's worked with them or sold them. If you have the one that has the fake sheet that runs around and the real music separate, that one apparently works much better. So I guess this would be the Generation 1 or the Gen 1, and the other one would be the Generation 2 or the Gen 2. So I don't know if you saw the finger or what have you flex. That's important. So you don't want to use aluminum, and you probably don't want to use steel, the little pieces of steel. You know what? Oh, I was going to hope before the music started. So you want to use something that will flex back and forth, give you that spring, which brass and copper would. I probably wouldn't go with copper. It's more expensive, and it turns green. It corrodes. Brass can too, but it takes more to make the brass turn green than the copper. The copper just needs moisture. So, piece of glue. Let's get it out of there so it doesn't get stuck in the mechanism. So, if you have this piece and you want to mitigate the chances of it jamming up and breaking something or tearing your paper, I'd recommend getting a small piece of aluminum angle. Again, corrosion reasons. If you live on a coastline, salt water in the air, the salt and the moisture will cause it to corrode and rust. So you want something that's more resistive. So aluminum, and I'm going to use a screwdriver again because I see the camera's focusing on my hand, and then glue a piece of brass to it, and then just adjust your bends as necessary. So I'll move this out of the way so you can get a better idea how it's done. I'll go over here. I was going to do the dual foot, but I started watching the paper, especially when I had the bar in there. The paper doesn't feed straight, it walks. And if I had the second foot, it could walk and it would catch on one of the holes. that was kind of holding this one in here when I still had the roller and it was getting caught. It was just too much resistance. So the paper running across two surfaces that are only a 1/2 inch wide. Again, I keep doing my hand. Two surfaces that are about a 1/2 inch wide versus one surface. That 1/2 inch difference does make a difference because, again, it's old. The puller motor is working fine, but the puller pulleys, the rubber, I don't know if I can get in there. Let me get that light on my face so I can see. So this rubber right here, this rubber right there, focus, kind of see it right here, it's starting to get stiff, meaning it's not as pliable. And then this puller that's built in, I don't really want to take it apart to do it, to look at it, because I'm afraid something like this plastic might break or the fingers inside will come out of alignment and then it doesn't play music anymore. According to Centronics, this is the one that usually fails. It's working just fine. I checked the spring tension on this right here, and it's really good. It's supposed to move back and forth. If you put pressure on it, it pulls better up until you hit the kink, and then it stops because it's just too much pressure. So, but he said that this is usually the big failure, but this is working fine. The big failure is the paper has kinks in it, and it's catching because the groove is so it's focusing on my hand again. It's so small in here that it's catching. So I just need something to help deflect away from the feed, or I guess the pull. I guess the feed would be right here, but where the helper motor, which is right here, or the helper drive, because it's a belt. There's a belt all the way back there that drives this. Cannot deal with a double feed or a triple feed, and this is the best I can come up with out of the umpteen designs using brass tubing, bolts, nuts, screws, biscuits, flat stock, angled stock. When I first took it apart, I don't know if you saw, there was a flat piece of wood that was about 1/5 of an inch wide. It was bigger than an 1/8 and smaller than a 1/4. So I'm going to go with probably 1/5 of an inch or thereabouts. And I think, because it had some glue residue on it, I think it was probably glued in right around here somewhere where this lip is, right there. And the reason I say that is if you help lift this up, it helps with it straightening here. It doesn't stop this point from getting shoved up inside, but it does help the feed part on the bottom. I tried that too. I actually put a bar here with the roller or the guide that, and it did work until it didn't. And then when it didn't work, it just didn't work. Every time it would go from a high loop to another high loop, it would jam. So it worked for, I don't know how this paper segmented, how many segments are, but let's say there's 20 segments, it would work for 1/10, and then it would stop. And then it would work, and then it would stop, and then it would work, and then it would stop. So I tried different diameter bars, from thin like this to thicker like that to fat like that, and no matter what I did, it would work. And then when the paper would shoot across, it would then jam it. So I can't film it all because the way my brain works is once I see a problem, I just instantly start trying to resolve it with testing and taking out the camera and trying to film it, or turning on the camera trying to film it isn't always the greatest. It slows me down. And like I said, I've been working on this piece for way longer than I thought I would ever. But the goal is to try and find a resolution that if you own this piece, you can in fact try and repair this piece to make it more reliable, since they don't make it anymore. And it's a nice piece. I mean, I'll turn my phone, which was stupid because on your screen it won't be, but you can see, of course, all the stuff's disassembled off of it, sitting in the corner over here. It's a nice piece. I mean, I'll do since I normally tip it for the aerial camera. Again, I have these. I'll glue these on. But you can see it's a really nice piece. And I can't tip it because when I tip it back to work on it, it wedges the paper because the paper falls and comes in at an angle. I mean, it's got a lot of detail. It's very ornate. And it's a lot of it's three-dimensional. I don't know what it is with Mr. Christmas and Mice, but they have a lot of them in their series. I mean, even that window in the back, that's three-dimensional. That is not a sticker. That is an actual, I'm trying to get it so you can see the thickness. That's a disc glued on. So is that one. That's three-dimensional. Those are three-dimensional. The only thing that's a sticker is the tools in the back right there. That's a sticker in the back. But the paper towel or note music sheet dispenser right there, three-dimensional. The wreath, the chimney, which is weird as a chimney that goes to nowhere. But whatever. It is what it is. The Santa stickers, there's one there, there's one there. Those are stickers. Basically, it's part of the wallpaper. Everything is three-dimensional. It's plastic or resin of some sort. And like I said, they took a lot of time in designing this. And it was probably a very expensive piece in the old days. Probably more expensive than you could imagine inflation and stuff in the current time. But they did a really good job. I do like the fact it's like an old player piano. It's really cool. But I would hate to own it only for the fact that it has a notorious problem that hopefully this will resolve the majority of it with just that small modification. I had to do a lot of big modifications to get there, but it's just a small modification in the end. Sometimes it's that KISS method, keep it simple, stupid. And I was over engineering it with all these other parts. And that's fine. It is the way it works. That's how we learn. That's what I used to do when I said I build custom stuff or work with custom stuff in the past. It's custom. You got to try and fail and continue and fail and continue, and hopefully you come up with a solution that actually works and it's not overly complicated. So anyhow, I am going to stop the camera. I'm going to reassemble this, and then we're going to start the camera up again with the thing reassembled in low light. And I'm going to turn my phone to portrait, which means you probably want to go to full screen on your computer. Cell phone would probably be fine. That way you can see it, since it is way taller than it is wide. But just panning back and forth so you can take in the complexity and the ornate value it has on the different floors. I mean, it's 3 floors. You got 5 rooms, since this is just one big room, and then this room is split. You can tell by the wallpaper. And this room is kind of split because of the way the music comes up, and you got, it could be one room because of the wallpaper. So we'll just show you the whole paper path before I stop it, since it's apart. So we'll start from where we fixed it. So it goes up. Here's the main guide, big block of plastic that is tapered. You can see right more, a little wedge, and it's tapered down. So if the paper shoots over, it's supposed to fix itself by hitting the bottom of this lip, which it doesn't always do. Then it goes up to a helper motor, which the helper drive, it's not a motor, helps push or pull the paper up from the bottom, but which of course pushes up to the top. Then it goes under this roller and then around these two to give it a nice big sweeping curve. The wider the curve, the less the resistance. Then we go to a nice tight curve. You know, it's a 180 degree rotation right there. Then we go up, and then we do about a 40 degree angle. Actually, it'd be 130 the way it's set. Another about 45. Then we go down behind Santa's piano right there. Come down to another roller, which is hard mounted, meaning that it's got a locking point on both ends, unlike these, which is just a screw and it's floating, so it wiggles. You can see that. So this one's hard mounted, so there's no movement. So is this one, so there's no movement, and that way it can keep the paper centered for the reader. or whatever they call it. I'm not a music box aficionado, but I'm sure there's something they call in a player piano that reads the sheet music, and it's the same principle. Now it goes through here, which you can see it's kind of lined up, and then the music is played right in this area. Then it goes through a chute, I guess you could call it, because it's a sealed piece of plastic that has got a small groove that then pushes it down. So this has a puller where it pulls the paper, and this is a puller that pulls the paper. So it pulls the paper up or pushes it up, and this pulls the paper sideways and then pushes it down. Goes all the way down, and then it's supposed to hit this foot, which starts the accordion effect. So it feeds it back and forth, and then when it gets full, it shoots it out. And then sometimes you get the good accordion, and then sometimes you get this weird cyclone of mess. And then it feeds, of course, and we go back to the beginning where it pulls it back up, and there you go. So it's a very complex setup. They had to figure out the angles, the tensions, and the speeds, knowing that the motor that pulls and the motor that helps, or the drive that helps, has to handle the resistance of the paper crinkling, the foot, the feed, and then going around all these pulleys. So the drive for there, to there, to here, and then push it through the chute. So there's a lot of engineering in this one. And then of course, here's your little circuit board, which looks good. The discoloration that you see like right here, and it's not discoloration, that's just glue. It's the adhesive they use to help hold everything. Over time it goes from a clear to a brown depending on the type of glue. Sometimes it's yellow and it turns brown. But the board is working. The capacitors, which are the three big things you see in the front, there's a little guy right there off to the left. They're all good. You usually can tell by the tops. If they're flat, they're good. If they're domed, they're bad. Sometimes they just literally explode off the board, and well, it's pretty obvious. The diodes up here are good. You got 4 of them. It's probably a rectifier circuit. You got another capacitor right there. I said everything on the board looks good. I used the otoscope to look inside, and she's clean. So there you go. All right, well, now we're 25 minutes into this portion of the recording. So I'm going to go ahead and pause it, get her back together, fire it up. We'll go from there. Okay, it's all back together. Let's do the low light. So I've glued the caps back on. You can see they're all there. And then we have a little light in the back. Another little light. Another one. Focus. Another one. And all the way at the bottom, you have the fireplace flickering. And that's all the lights. So you can see the mouse, or the mice are spinning. Wheels are spinning. Santa's playing the piano. Music teacher's bobbing. He's painting the notes. He's punching the holes. Nothing there moves at all. And then the mouse is also orchestrating. So there you go. So it's all, and this is what I'm talking about. And then once you do that, it got caught right on that fold again. And no matter who I've talked to about this piece, it's always going to do that. But I've reduced the chance of it happening. Also, when you tip this thing, make sure that when you put the face back on, that the paper is pushed all the way back so it doesn't get caught in the bottom. That's the second kink. So this sheet has 2 kinks, and it's occasionally going to do this. So, but this is as good as I can do to help keep the guides going. But now you know how to disassemble it. Reassembly is reverse. Just put all the screws back in. Just make sure when you put this on, you don't pinch the paper. But there you go. Till the next one. Thanks for watching.